This video is about using bagpipe bags with the WARBL. First we'll look at the physical setup, how to attach bags to the WARBL, and then we'll go into the configuration tool and I'll show you some settings that work well with bags. This is the plastic water bottle bag that you can buy on the WARBL website. It's just meant to be the least expensive possible option. It's pretty crinkly sounding and it doesn't look very nice. A lot of people end up sewing a fabric cover to go over it and make it look a little bit better. It comes with this black rubber stopper and tubing. You just plug the stopper into the end of the bag and then plug the other end of the tube into the WARBL itself. And at that point, you're ready to start playing. Another great option is to use a real bagpipe bag. This one is made by Bannatyne of Scotland. It's a airtight bag. There's no blowpipe or zipper or anything like that. It doesn't come with a stopper. I had to buy a rubber stopper with a 1/4-inch hole in it, into which I put a piece of 1/4-inch tubing. This is the same tubing that comes with the plastic water bottle bag. It also happens to just be a 1/4-inch irrigation tubing, which you can get here in the US pretty easily at hardware stores. I assume you can get it in other countries. It may be metric, but that I expect would work fine as well. To hold the stopper in place, I used a plastic zip tie around the bag, which I pulled tight with a pair of pliers, and then I used a piece of black electrical tape around that just to make it look a little bit better. This is Bannatyne's Gaeta or Galician bagpipe bag. I like it because it has a curved neck, which works well with the WARBL. They also make Uilleann pipe bags and Highland ones and all sorts of other options, but this one seems to work well. Again, to use it, you just inflate it. And it's a sealed system just like the other one, so no air ever escapes. You're just applying air pressure to the pressure sensor in the WARBL when you squeeze the bag. So you never have to re-inflate it. So now I'm in the configuration tool. By the way, the audio I've been using in this video so far is the new built-in audio in the configuration tool. You can adjust the settings by clicking on these 3 dots. There are several different instrument sounds available. I've been using the Uilleann pipe sounds. The first place you should look if you're using a bag is this note trigger and register control panel. Specifically, you'll want to select this learn or enter pressure option rather than calibrated startup. Calibrated startup is what is used with the mouthpiece, and it means that the WARBL will start playing notes at an air pressure just slightly higher than the ambient atmospheric pressure. With a bag, you want to select this one instead because that lets you enter a higher pressure. It's much easier to apply a higher air pressure with a bag than it is with the mouthpiece, so you want to have a higher starting value for when notes will be played. The other thing you can do instead of entering a specific value is to squeeze the bag at whatever pressure you'd like to begin playing notes and then click learn and the WARBL will learn that pressure. You can see I've entered a value of 2.5 here. That works pretty well with the bigger Bannatyne bag. With that smaller water bottle bag, you'll want to enter something closer to maybe 4 or 5 typically. With the smaller bags, make it easier to apply pressure than larger bags. If you're overblowing, which Uilleann pipers typically do, meaning you'll squeeze the bag harder to play the second register, then you also want to select the overblowing settings appropriately down here. Specifically, you want to select bag, which just means that when you go into this advanced panel, it will be using these settings surrounded by the rectangle here, the settings for bags. If you select bag defaults, it will restore the default values which are recommended for bags. And these should work pretty well for most bags, but you can adjust these a little bit. Specifically the threshold and multiplier settings. If you lower these, it'll be easier to play the second register. And if you raise them, it makes it more difficult to play the second register. So I recommend playing with those a little bit. The next place to look is the drones control panel. A lot of bagpipes apps have the ability to play drones that are controlled by specific MIDI notes sent by the WARBL or other bagpipes controllers. Those commands typically are a note on command to start the drones playing and then another note on command or a note off command to stop those. You can also choose CC messages. Some apps like Universal Piper can also accept CC messages for controlling the drones. The defaults in this whole panel are set up for Celtic Sounds MIDI module. So if you're using that app, you don't need to change any of these settings in this area. The same is true of the new built-in sounds here in the configuration tool. I designed that to use similar default settings. One thing you'll notice though is that I have the drones set to channel 3. If you're using Celtic Sounds, the default I believe is for channel 1. When I'm using the built-in sounds in the configuration tool, I set that to 3 because if I send drones control messages on a different channel than the note channel, which I have set to 2 up here, then that prevents the bagpipe drones from being affected by pitch bend. So if I'm playing slides and using vibrato, the drones won't be affected by that at all. In the Celtic Sounds apps and most other bagpipe apps, you don't have to worry about the channel. You can just set that to the same channel as the chanter or the note channel. But if you're using this sound in the configuration tool, you do need to set that to a different channel than your note channel if you don't want the drones to be affected by pitch bend messages. Byte 2 is the MIDI note number that is being sent, and this is the default for Celtic Sounds and the built-in sound here in the configuration tool. In Celtic Sounds, you can change these a little bit to play different drone samples, and all the information about that is in the documentation for the Celtic Sounds app. Byte 3 is the volume of the drone, so you can set this to any value from 0 to 127. I have it set about halfway. So if you change that, it'll change the volume of the drones. You'll notice that the drone off command I have set currently is another note on message, but I have the velocity or the volume set to 0. If you do that, it will turn off the drones in the built-in sound in the configuration tool. It'll also work with the Celtic Sounds apps. So the commands that you see right here will work in either app, with the exception of in Celtic Sounds, I believe you do have to set the channel to the same channel as your note channel. So this setting that you have right up here. Down on the bottom of the drone's control panel, in this area is where you decide what action you want to use to send these MIDI commands up here that will turn the drones on and off. So right now I have Use Secret button selected. You may have noticed earlier in the video that I clicked a button to turn the drones on and off. That is, you cover only the right index finger tone hole, the R1 tone hole, while you click the top button, which is almost right under that tone hole. So button 1. And when you do that, that combination of two things, it will turn the drones on and off. So that's a convenient way to do it. You can also use any of these other button actions down here. And to select one of those, what you actually do is select no drone control up here. And this is a little bit counterintuitive, I admit. And then you can select one of these down here. So I actually have click 1 selected to turn drones on and off. So if I just click button 1 by itself, actually in this case it will, now that I have no drone control selected, it will turn the drones on and off. You can choose any of these other things down here too, including like shaking the WARBL, for example. You could go down there and select turn drones on and off. So now when you do one of these actions, assuming you have no drone control selected, it will send the drone on and drone off commands. The other options, turn on off with chanter. Now anytime I play a note on the chanter, the drones will start playing. I don't know if you could hear that or not, but the drone started at exactly the same time and ended at the same time as the chanter notes. Then the final option is to use pressure. And right now the pressure is set to 0. Typically you want the pressure for starting the drones to be a little bit lower than the pressure that you have for starting notes up here. So if I say set that to something like 2, then when I squeeze the bag at a pressure of 2 inches of water, it'll start playing the drones, and then when I squeeze it a little bit harder, it'll start playing the chanter notes. So that's about all I wanted to cover in terms of bags. I didn't get into specific apps in very much detail at all in this video, but if you have questions about that, just let me know. Some of these bagpipe apps can be a little bit complicated because you have drones and chanter sounds, and you have fingering charts that tend to be in different keys, so it can get complicated if, for example, you're using something like Highland bagpipes, small pipes fingering chart with uilleann pipe sounds, or vice versa. The keys can get a little bit complicated. So just let me know if you have questions about setting those up. Thanks for watching.